Chosen one. Stop and listen. This moment is not ordinary. It is a divine interruption. You did not stumble upon these words by chance. Heaven has arranged them for you. For too long, you have wondered why the path seemed slow. Why doors closed. Why waiting became your daily companion. But now, the atmosphere is shifting. What you thought was delay has only been preparation. The surprise you have prayed for is being unwrapped before your eyes. You may feel like the years have stolen your joy. You have watched others step forward while you stood in the shadows, carrying questions in your heart that no one else could answer. But the truth is this: you were hidden, not forgotten, preserved, not rejected. Heaven has written your name into promises that cannot fail. Every step, even the painful ones, has been leading you here. Let me give you a story. There was once a man who worked tirelessly, but always felt like he was one step behind. Opportunities would slip away, and he began to wonder if God had overlooked him. But in time, something shifted. A door opened in a place he never expected. He stepped through, and in that moment he realized that none of the waiting was wasted. It was positioning. His story echoes your own. The surprise you long for is not late. It is perfectly timed. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 21, verse 45. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. Do you feel the weight of this? It is not just history, it is prophecy for your life. What he has promised will be delivered. Unshaken, unstoppable. Not even time itself can cancel his word. Picture this: a seed buried in the soil. For months, it seems dead, lost in darkness. Yet beneath the surface, life is forming. Roots spread deep. Then, suddenly, a green shoot pushes through the ground into the light. This is you. The darkness you endured was never a grave. It was the womb of your future. And now, your breakthrough is sprouting in plain sight. Chosen one. You are standing at the edge of your unveiling. Do not doubt what is stirring inside you. This is why the battles were so fierce, because the enemy saw glimpses of your promise before you did. He tried to exhaust you, confuse you, and convince you to give up. But you didn't. You are still here. And because you endured, you will witness the promise unfold. Now, I must invite you into action. Do not just hear these words and walk away unchanged. Seal this moment. If this message resonates, like this video, share it with someone else, and subscribe so you never miss the flow of these divine messages. You are not joining a crowd, you are stepping into a chosen circle of destiny. And before this section ends, act prophetically. Type the number 77 inches, the comments. It is a simple act, but it declares something bold. I believe God's promises over my life. I am ready to see them fulfilled. Now, the surprise is here. The shift has begun. Do not miss it. This is your signal. Stay awake. Stay ready. Stay watchful, because the God who promised is faithful, and your unveiling is closer than you think. You have always felt different. Even as a child, something in you did not fit the mold. Others could compromise easily, but you could not. Others could walk away from conviction, but you carried a weight inside your chest that would not let you rest when you strayed. That was not weakness, it was evidence. Evidence that you were set apart. There were moments you tried to blend in, to dim your light so you would not draw attention. Yet somehow, you still stood out. People misunderstood you. Some distanced themselves. Others whispered about you. What they did not realize is that heaven's hand was resting on you. The uneasiness you felt in places where others seemed comfortable was a sign that you were never meant to settle. Think back to the friendships you lost, the opportunities that slipped through your hands, the doors that slammed shut. At the time, it may have felt like rejection, but with clearer eyes, you now see that those were divine redirections. You were being preserved for something higher. God would not let you get stuck in what was beneath your destiny. Let me tell you a story. A young man grew up in a family where expectations were low. Everyone said he would be nothing more than what his environment dictated. Yet, from a young age, he felt restless. He dreamed of things beyond the horizon. That restlessness made him different, but it also made him lonely. For years, he questioned why he was not like his peers. Only later did he realize that the difference was his calling card. He was not meant to repeat the patterns around him, he was meant to break them. His life became a living testimony that being different was not a curse, but a crown. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 24, a person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? This is why you feel unusual. Your steps are not directed by chance or by the opinions of others. They are ordered by heaven. The path you are walking cannot be explained by human logic, because it was never designed by human hands. The turns, the detours, even the delays, each one has been a thread woven into a larger pattern you cannot yet fully see. It explains why your life has never been ordinary. It explains why silence feels heavy, why mediocrity feels unbearable. You were not built to fade into the background. You were crafted to carry light into dark spaces. That difference, the one you sometimes tried to hide, is the very reason you will step into what others only dream of. So stop questioning why you are not like the rest. Stop apologizing for carrying more, feeling deeper, seeing farther. Your difference is proof of your destiny. You are God's chosen, and the world will soon see why. And hear this clearly: being chosen does not mean being perfect. It means being positioned. Even your weaknesses, even your failures, are being shaped into testimonies. What once embarrassed you will soon empower others, because your scars carry a message only you can release. When the time is right, what seemed confusing will suddenly make sense. You will look back and realize every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every closed door was pushing you toward this destiny. You were never lost, you were being led. This is why your spirit still stirs, why your heart still burns, because the surprise waiting to unfold is not small. It is kingdom-sized, and it carries your name. Every scar tells a story. The wounds you have carried, the tears you have hidden, the loneliness that echoed in your nights, none of it was wasted. What the world saw as brokenness, heaven saw as evidence. You are not weak because you have scars. You are strong because you survived them. There were seasons when betrayal cut deep. Friends turned their backs. People you trusted chose to misunderstand you. And still, you endured. Those scars are not shame. They are proof that darkness tried to bury you, but failed. Each mark is a testimony that you are still standing. I want you to imagine a pot of clay in the hands of a skilled potter. It cracks. It breaks. But instead of discarding it, the potter mends it with veins of gold. This ancient art, called kintsugi, makes the vessel even more valuable because of its cracks. That is who you are. God has filled your broken places with glory, turning your scars into radiant lines of strength. Scripture reminds us in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Mo, do you see? It was never about hiding your scars. It was about letting God's strength shine through them. The pain that tried to silence you has become the very place where His voice is loudest. Your story will heal others. Let me share with you the story of a young woman who felt her life was over after being rejected by those she loved most. For years, she carried shame like a cloak, but one day she realized her rejection was not her ending. It was her redirection. She began speaking openly about her pain, and what once was her deepest wound became the doorway for others to find hope. Her scars became her ministry, and so it will be with you. The marks you carry are not the signs of defeat. They are the medals of survival. They whisper to the world, "I have walked through fire, but I did not burn. I have faced the storm, but I did not drown." Now, I call you into a moment of declaration. Comment these words, "I rise healed." Do not just type them as letters. Let them be your cry, your stand, your testimony. When you write it, you are sealing it in faith. You are healed. You are whole. You are chosen. This is not about impressing others. It is about aligning your heart with what heaven already says about you. Your scars do not disqualify you. They crown you. They are the very proof that you are God's chosen one, preserved for this time, marked for this unveiling. Scars remind you where you have been, but they do not dictate where you are going. They are signposts, not prisons. Each one testifies that grace carried you when strength ran out, and that mercy never let you go. They also become keys for others. When you share your story, your scars unlock healing in those still bleeding. What once caused you pain now becomes a bridge for someone else to cross into hope. So, wear them with courage. Heaven calls your scars beautiful, because they shine with the light of a God who never left you. There is a stirring you can no longer ignore. Deep within your spirit, something has been pressing, whispering, declaring, "It is time." For years you carried the promise like a seed hidden in the soil, unseen by most, even doubted by yourself. Yet what was buried has not been lost. It has been growing, quietly, in silence, until the appointed season for unveiling. This is the hour of the unveiling. What was whispered in your private prayers is about to echo publicly. The things you carried in secret are ready to manifest openly. Heaven has been preparing this moment with precision. You may not have understood the delays, but now you will understand the alignment. Consider the life of Joseph, betrayed by brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, locked in a prison. His story looked like failure after failure. Yet every step was pointing toward the palace. Every seeming setback was positioning. When the unveiling came, it was sudden and unstoppable. One moment he was bound. The next, he was second in command over a nation. His story mirrors the rhythm of yours. Hidden seasons are not wasted. They are wombs for greatness. The voice of God thundered in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. Verse 3. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Take these words as your anchor, your revelation, your surprise, your unveiling. It has an appointed time. You are standing at the edge of it now. What lingered will no longer delay. The time clock of heaven is striking in your favor. Think of a curtain drawn across a stage. Behind it, the actors prepare. The lights adjust. The story forms. To the audience, it looks like nothing is happening. But behind the veil, everything is in motion. Then, in an instant, the curtain rises, and the hidden becomes visible. This is your life. For years, the curtain has been drawn, and you thought nothing was moving. But behind the veil, heaven has been setting the stage. And now, the curtain is about to rise. You may ask, why me? Why now? Because the world does not need more noise, it needs light. And your unveiling carries that light. Your scars have been healed. Your difference has been affirmed. And now your voice will be amplified. The unveiling is not for your ego, it is for God's glory. He will take your ordinary life and turn it into extraordinary testimony. Imagine a sunrise. All night, the earth waits in darkness. Then, slowly, the horizon begins to glow, and suddenly the sun breaks through. The darkness flees, not because it chose to leave, but because light demanded it. That is what your unveiling looks like. Darkness has no choice but to bow as the light of your destiny rises. Chosen one. The unveiling begins here. No force can stop it. No delay can block it. No voice can silence it. What was hidden will now be seen, and what was promised will now be fulfilled. The time is not coming, it has come. Chosen one. The unveiling begins here. No force can stop it. No delay can block it. No voice can silence it. What was hidden will now be seen, and what was promised will now be fulfilled. The time is not coming, it has come. This unveiling is more than a personal breakthrough. It is a divine announcement. Your life will become a living signpost, pointing to God's faithfulness. Proof that He finishes what He begins. So, step forward without fear. The curtain has lifted. The light is shining. And your place is ready. The unveiling has already started, and the world will witness it through you. The war over your destiny has been fierce. Every setback, every closed door, every whisper of doubt in your ear has been part of a battle much larger than what you could see. Darkness has tried to convince you that you are forgotten, unworthy, and unprepared. But here is the truth. The greater the resistance, the greater the calling. If your life has felt like a battlefield, it is because you carry something worth fighting for. You are not just another soul drifting through time. You are a carrier of light, and light always attracts resistance. Yet no matter how thick the shadows may seem, they cannot extinguish the flame God Himself placed within you. Think of David facing Goliath. To the crowd, he was only a boy with a sling. To Goliath, he was laughable. But in heaven's eyes, David was a warrior carrying victory before the fight even began. Your life has mirrored that moment more than once. People underestimated you. Situations mocked your capacity. Yet you carried a victory that no one else could see. And here you are still standing. still chosen, still rising. According to what is revealed in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 31, if God is for us, who can be against us? This single truth dismantles every lie the enemy has whispered. Every time opposition rises, remember this: you are not outnumbered. You are outmatched. Heaven fights with you. Angels guard you. Grace surrounds you. The war over your destiny has already been decided in your favor. Now, let me give you an image. Imagine standing at the edge of a canyon. Across from you, you see countless others who carry light like you do. The only way your flame can be seen more clearly is if it reflects and multiplies across the canyon walls. When you choose to lift your light higher, when you decide to let it shine where others can see, you are not just carrying yourself forward. You are igniting a chain reaction. This is why I invite you to act. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, it is not a chore. It is like placing your candle on a hill where it cannot be hidden. It becomes a signal fire across the canyon, a blaze that tells others wandering in the dark, here is light, here is hope, here is direction. Do it not because you must, but because your flame was never meant to stay small. You are part of a living tapestry. Every thread matters. And when you choose to weave yours into the pattern through your voice, your actions, even through something as simple as engagement, you become a beacon. You are saying, I am not ashamed of the light I carry. I want others to see it too. That is not obligation. It is beauty. It is freedom. It is choosing to let your flame dance where it was always meant to be seen. Remember this: the war over your destiny proves how valuable you are. If darkness is fighting this hard to silence you, it is because heaven has already declared your victory. Stand tall, raise your light, and let it shine, not for applause, but for purpose. The battle does not end with you crushed. It ends with you crowned. And even now, the crown is closer than you think. There are moments when heaven asks for a response, not because God needs proof of who you are, but because your own heart must release a declaration. This is one of those moments. The path you have been walking has been long, filled with pauses that tested your patience. Yet now, the air is shifting. What was locked is opening. What was delayed is accelerating. And your spirit can sense it. You have been waiting for alignment, for confirmation, for a sign that you were not walking in circles. And now, heaven whispers, give me your agreement. There is power when your heart, your words, and your actions come into unity. That unity becomes a seal, a marker that says, yes, I recognize this season. Yes, I choose to step in. Think of the children of Israel at the walls of Jericho. They were commanded to march day after day, saying nothing, until the appointed moment to shout. The march itself was an act of agreement. Every step said, we trust what God has promised, even if we do not yet see it. And when the final shout came, the walls collapsed, not because of human strength, but because heaven honored their act of unity. Chosen one. This is your Jericho moment. You may not see all the walls crumbling yet, but each small step of obedience is part of the collapse. Heaven is watching for your agreement. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Perseverance has been your companion. You endured storms that others walked away from. You held on when quitting seemed easier. That perseverance was not wasted, it was preparation. Now you are standing in the doorway of promise, and your response seals your entrance. Imagine planting a tree. The seed is small, almost invisible, but with water and time, roots die deep. Then comes the moment when the seedling pushes through the soil, reaching for the sun. That fragile push is the response that proves life is active within. You are that seed. Your perseverance has been the water, and now your response is the push that confirms you are alive and ready to rise. Here is the invitation. Write the number 999 inches, the comments. Not as a superstition, not as a ritual, but as a prophetic act. Why 999? Because it carries a divine weight. It is the number of completion, declaring that a cycle of testing has ended and a season of fulfillment has begun. It is like the toll of a bell at dawn, ringing 3 times to proclaim, delay is over, destiny awakens. It is also the seal of heaven, 3 stamps of authority, hammering down upon your future with finality. This promise will stand, this unveiling will come. And so, when you type 999, you are not just pressing keys, you are making a covenant. You are saying, I will persevere. I will not give up now. I step into the promise that belongs to me. And do not underestimate the power of this act. It is not the number itself, but the alignment of your heart with heaven, and every time you return to see those digits, let them remind you, I am chosen, I am sealed, I am stepping into fulfillment. The doors that once resisted you are loosening. The chains that tried to hold you are cracking. Your perseverance has brought you here, and your agreement will carry you through. Chosen one. Type the number 999. Let it be your shout, your seal, your sound of destiny breaking open. There are moments in life when everything seems to turn upside down. What you thought was certain suddenly shakes. What you counted on slips away. You ask yourself, how can this possibly be part of God's plan? Yet heaven whispers that reversals are not accidents, they are divine strategies. You have seen it before. The job you thought would sustain you, gone. The relationship you believed would last forever, broken. The opportunity you chased with all your strength, closed. At the time, it felt like loss, betrayal, failure. But step back now, and you will see a pattern. What was taken was not punishment, it was protection. What you thought was destruction was actually construction, rearranging your path for a greater outcome. Consider Joseph again. His brothers meant to destroy him. They threw him into a pit, sold him as a slave, abandoned him to despair. Yet the very chain of events meant to bury him became the stepping stones to Egypt's palace. His reversal was so complete that the pit and the palace were part of the same story, seamlessly woven together by God's hand. According to what is written in the book of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. This is the heartbeat of reversal. Darkness plots harm, but heaven bends it into purpose. What was meant to break you actually builds you. What was supposed to silence you sharpens your voice. What the enemy shaped as chains turns into the very platform of your freedom. Think of a storm. When the winds rise and the waves crash, most ships hide in the harbor. But an eagle does the opposite. It spreads its wings and uses the very storm winds to lift itself higher. That is divine reversal. The storm that should have grounded you becomes the very wind that elevates you. Look back at your own story. Think of the moments that felt like endings, the doors that slammed in your face, the people who walked away, the seasons where you thought your life was unraveling. And yet, here you are, still standing, wiser, stronger, clearer. That is not coincidence, that is reversal. The script the enemy wrote was not the final version. God rewrote it with glory. Sometimes reversals come slowly, like dawn breaking after a long night. Other times they strike suddenly, like lightning splitting the sky. Either way, they arrive with certainty, and when they do, they change everything. A man once told his story of losing everything: job, home, family. For months, he sat in despair, convinced his life was ruined. But as time unfolded, he found himself in a position to help others who had lost, because he understood their pain. From his place of emptiness came a ministry of abundance. His reversal did not erase his scars, but it gave them purpose. So it will be with you. The things that felt like your breaking point will become your breakthrough point. The things that stripped you bare will become the soil for your new strength. Reversal is not about erasing the past, it is about redefining it. Chosen one. The heavenly reversal is already in motion. What was meant for your destruction is turning into your elevation. What you thought ended your story is becoming the chapter that proves God was with you all along. Inheritance is a word that carries weight. It is not earned by effort, it is received by belonging. You do not strive for it. You simply step into it. And from the beginning, heaven has written an inheritance under your name. You may not see it yet, but treasures have been prepared for you. They are not treasures of gold and silver alone, though provision is part of it. They are treasures of wisdom, of favor, of divine connections, of doors that no one else can open. These are not random blessings. They are your inheritance as one chosen, marked, and preserved by God. Think of Israel stepping into the promised land. For 40 years, they wandered in the wilderness, living day to day on manna. To them, survival became normal, but survival was never the end goal. There was land flowing with milk and honey. Vineyards they did not plant. Wells they did not dig. Houses they did not build. It was all prepared long before they ever stepped foot into it. That is what inheritance looks like, walking into what was waiting for you all along. According to what is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 10 and 11, when the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you a land with large, flourishing cities you did not build, houses filled with all kinds of good things you did not provide, wells you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. Then when you eat and are satisfied, do you see it? Inheritance is not random luck, it is covenant fulfillment. God does not merely hand you scraps, he prepares abundance that outlives your effort. Your inheritance is also spiritual. Peace that the world cannot steal. Wisdom that age alone cannot produce. Courage that rises even in the face of fear. joy that wells up in the darkest valleys. These are riches that cannot be measured by earthly currency. Yet they sustain you far more than wealth ever could. Imagine a treasure chest buried deep in the earth. Génération passe. Storms come and go, yet the chest remains untouched. One day, the rightful heir arrives. The chest is opened, and the treasures spill out. That is your story. There are promises attached to your name. Treasures buried deep in time, waiting for you to step into your rightful moment. But inheritance also requires recognition. Many live unaware of what belongs to them, settling for crumbs when a feast is set before them. You cannot receive what you do not recognize. That is why heaven is awakening you to realize that what you thought was lost has only been waiting. A woman once shared her testimony. She spent years feeling empty, believing she had nothing of value. But as she began to walk with God, she discovered gifts she never knew she had. Creativity, discernment, the ability to speak life into others. All of these were part of her inheritance. What once felt like emptiness became evidence of hidden treasure. Chosen one. The inheritance is real. It is written, sealed, preserved for you. You will walk into rooms where favor greets you before you speak. You will carry wisdom that silences confusion. You will find strength you did not know you had. This is not wishful thinking, it is covenant reality. The hidden inheritance under your name is not far off. It is near. It is alive. And it is waiting for your step of recognition. Step into it, for it has always been yours. Obedience is the turning point. You can carry promise, vision, even inheritance. But without obedience, the fullness of destiny cannot be unlocked. Delay is not always caused by the enemy. Sometimes it is caused by hesitation in your own heart. This is why heaven presses you to choose. Not tomorrow, but today. Think of Jonah. He heard God's command, but ran in the opposite direction. The storm that nearly destroyed his ship was not punishment, it was redirection. When Jonah finally obeyed, the very people he resisted reaching were saved. His story shows us that delayed obedience can cost lives. But true obedience brings life to many. Obedience often feels uncomfortable. It may call you to leave behind what is familiar, to step into spaces where your strength feels small. Yet that discomfort is the sign that God is stretching you into purpose. If it were easy, you would not need faith. The Word of God declares in the first book of Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22, to obey is better than sacrifice. To heed is better than the fat of rams. This cuts through every excuse. God does not ask for performance, empty rituals, or appearances. He asks for obedience. One step of surrender outweighs 1,000 empty offerings. Your yes carries more weight in heaven than the loudest display of religion. Picture a locked gate in front of a wide field. On the other side lies fruit, shelter, and beauty. The key is already in your pocket, but you must choose to take it out. Place it in the lock and turn it. That key is obedience. Without it, the gate never opens, and the field remains a distant dream. With it, the field becomes your reality. A young man once shared that he resisted God's call for years. He wanted control, so he held back. But every time he disobeyed, life grew emptier. Finally, In surrender, he obeyed, and within months, doors opened that he had chased for years in vain. His story teaches us that obedience is not loss, it is alignment. Chosen one. The moment is now. Do not wait until the storm grows louder, or the delay grows longer. Your yes today carries the power to unlock what generations have prayed for. Comment these words. Yes, Lord. Simple, short, but unshakable. When you type it, you are declaring not only to heaven, but to your own soul, I will stop delaying. I will move when God speaks. I will step into alignment now. Your destiny does not require endless explanations. It requires a yes, and that yes, spoken now, will echo into eternity. When you whisper, yes, Lord, you are not only aligning with God's voice, you are releasing weight off your own shoulders. Resistance drains you. Surrender refreshes you. Every hidden fear begins to lose its grip when obedience takes the lead. This yes also builds momentum. Like a river that starts as a small stream, obedience begins with one step, then grows into a current strong enough to move obstacles out of your way. Each act of obedience strengthens the flow until nothing can dam it up. And beyond yourself, your yes carries generational impact. The obedience you choose today becomes a path others can walk tomorrow. Your children, your family, even strangers you may never meet will taste freedom because you dared to say yes. So never underestimate your yes. It is more than words. It is the very key that unlocks heaven's promise over your life. There is a crown with your name on it, not the kind made of metal and jewels alone, but one woven with honor, endurance, and heavenly recognition. This crown is the symbol of the authority you are stepping into, a sign that your struggles have not been wasted. Every battle you endured has been shaping this crown. Every lonely night, every moment you chose faith when fear was screaming, every tear you shed in silence, those were strands of gold, woven together by unseen hands. What looked like loss was actually the refining fire. What looked like defeat was the hammer shaping glory. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to all who long for him. Picture a runner crossing the finish line. The crowd may not have seen the miles of training, the sweat, the exhaustion. They only see the moment of triumph. That is what this crown represents. It is not handed out cheaply. It is given to those who endured, who ran their race, who refused to give up when quitting seemed easier. Or imagine a tree battered by storms. The winds bend it. The rain soaks it. The seasons strip its leaves. Yet because its roots dig deep, it does not break. When spring comes, it blooms more beautifully than before. The crown you are receiving is like that bloom, the visible reward of invisible resilience. But let me ask you, will you keep this crown hidden? Or will you wear it boldly? Your crown is not for arrogance. It is for testimony. It says to the world, God kept me. God lifted me. God crowned me. And when you wear it with humility, others will find courage to endure their storms. Now let me give you another image. Imagine a lighthouse on the shore. Its crown is the bright flame at the top, cutting through the fog, guiding ships to safety. Without that crown of light, the lighthouse is only a tower of stone, but with it, it becomes a savior for countless lives at sea. That is you, chosen one. Your crown is not just about you, it is about the lives who will see hope through your shining. And this is where your part comes in. When you choose to like, you are raising your torch higher, letting that crown of light shine a little further. When you share, you are sending a spark across the ocean, where another soul may catch it in their darkest night. When you subscribe, you are saying, I choose to remain in this flow of light. I choose to stay connected to the voice that reminds me of my crown. Oh, this is not an obligation, it is an invitation. Just as the crown is offered freely, so is your response. No one can force you to lift your torch higher, but when you do, you join in something bigger than yourself. You let your crown become part of a chorus of lights, a constellation of hope across the earth. So do not shrink back. Stand tall. Wear your crown boldly, not for vanity, but for victory. And let your engagement, your choice to lift your light, be as natural and beautiful as slipping the crown onto your head. Your crown is waiting. Your crown is shining. Your crown is proof that heaven never forgot you. The doors are opening before you, some quietly, like a hinge that turns without sound. Others, suddenly, like gates that burst wide with the force of heaven behind them. What once resisted you is loosening. What once mocked you with delay is now bowing to divine timing. You have prayed for opportunity. Yet what you often faced were barriers. Closed doors can feel cruel, especially when you long for progress. But closed doors are also messages. They tell you, not here, not now, not this way. What you thought was rejection was actually protection. Heaven refused to let you step into a place unprepared for your presence. Now, the shift is here, where once the hallway felt endless, door after door sealed shut. Suddenly a key turns. The path that felt like stone walls begins to open, like a river breaking through a dam. This is what it means to walk through open doors, access granted not by your effort, but by divine favor. The ancient words recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8z. I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. This promise is more than comfort. It is a decree. If heaven opens it, no man, no system, no enemy can shut it. The power behind your breakthrough is not in your resume, your qualifications, or your connections. It is in the authority of the one who holds the keys of David, who opens and no one can shut, who shuts and no one can open. Think of Peter in prison, chained between guards, locked behind iron gates. By all appearances, escape was impossible. Yet in the night, an angel struck his chains loose and led him past each locked gate, until finally, the iron doors opened by themselves. Peter did not need to force them, they opened as he walked. This is the imagery of your season. Doors will open as you move, not by your striving, but by your obedience. Picture also a field of sunflowers. Each one turns to face the rising sun. They do not force themselves to bloom, they simply align with the light, and the petals unfold naturally. In the same way, your open doors are not forced, they are the natural result of aligning yourself with heaven's light. But here is the truth. An open door still requires a step. You can stand before it forever, admiring the opportunity, fearful of what is beyond. Or you can walk through, trusting that the same God who opened it will sustain you inside. The door is not the destination, it is the entry point into a new chapter. A woman once testified that for years she dreamed of starting her own work, but every attempt failed. At last, she released her own control and asked God to direct her. Within months, she found herself in a place she had not planned, with resources she had not sought, and doors swinging wide she had not knocked on. Looking back, she realized the failures were simply locked doors, protecting her from entering too soon. The right door opened in the right season. Chosen one. The doors before you now are not random. They are intentional, precise, prepared long before you reached them. You do not need to fear what waits beyond them, for the one who opened them has already gone ahead of you. Step forward. Walk boldly. The season of locked gates is over. The season of open doors has begun. Acceleration. That is the word for this moment. For years, it felt as though your life was moving in slow motion. Every prayer seemed to take forever. Every dream felt like it was crawling through mud. But when heaven decides to accelerate, what took years can shift in days. What you thought would never arrive suddenly shows up, overwhelming you with speed. Acceleration is not chaos, it is alignment. It is the moment when preparation meets opportunity, when prayers collide with timing, when heaven's calendar flips to your appointed page. Suddenly, pieces fall into place so quickly that you can hardly keep track. The prophet Amos recorded these words. Chapter 9, verse 13. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will be overtaken by the plowman and the planter by the one treading grapes. New wine will drip from the mountains and flow from all the hills. End quote. This is acceleration. The harvest comes so quickly that it outruns the one planting. The blessing overtakes the labor. The promise runs faster than your preparation. You will look around and realize that the waiting season has collapsed, and fulfillment is sprinting toward you. Imagine standing at the edge of a dam. For years, water has been building behind it, pressing against the wall, unseen but powerful. Then, in one moment, the gates open, and the flood rushes out. Unstoppable. That is how acceleration feels. The pressure you felt was not delay, it was build-up. And now, the release is here. Or picture a bow being drawn back. The tension is painful. The weight feels endless. But the farther the string is pulled, the farther the arrow will fly. Your waiting was not wasted, it was setting you up for greater distance. Now the arrow is about to launch. A man once shared his testimony. For a decade, he labored in obscurity, never noticed, never promoted. He often wondered if his work mattered at all. Then, in a single week, opportunities came that he could not have orchestrated. Doors he never knocked on swung wide, and recognition came from unexpected places. Years of silence broke in days of sudden acceleration. His story is a mirror of what God is doing in your life. Chosen one. This is your moment. You are not stepping into ordinary progress. You are stepping into supernatural speed. And here is your prophetic act. Type the number 444 inches, the comments. Why 444? Because it is the rhythm of divine alignment, 4 corners of the earth. 4 winds of heaven. 4 gospels carrying the same truth. It symbolizes stability and acceleration working together. Heaven's order, pushing you forward at a pace you could never achieve alone. Each 4 is like a step, promise, preparation, positioning, and performance. When you write 444, you are declaring, I step into acceleration with heaven's order. I will not stumble. I will soar. Do not hesitate. Let this number be your agreement with what heaven is releasing. When you see it, remember, your slow season is over. Your sudden season has begun. Acceleration is here. The floodgates are open. Step into the rush of answered prayers. This speed is not to exhaust you, but to establish you. God is redeeming the years you thought were lost, compacting what seemed delayed into a season of sudden fulfillment. What once dragged will now run, and acceleration comes with grace. You will not stumble trying to keep up, because heaven's pace carries you. What others strive for, you will walk into with ease. For the Lord Himself is your momentum. There are chains that no one else can see, not the kind made of iron, but the invisible kind: fear, shame, regret, doubt. These chains are subtle, wrapping themselves around your heart, your mind, your spirit, until you begin to believe they are part of who you are. Yet heaven declares today, those chains are breaking. Some chains are inherited, patterns passed down through families, cycles of lack, cycles of addiction, cycles of silence that make you wonder if freedom is even possible. Others are forged in personal moments of pain, a word spoken in anger, a betrayal you never expected, a failure that left its mark. These links feel heavy, but they are not eternal. The ancient words recorded in the book of Psalms, chapter 107, verse 14, He brought them out of darkness, the utter darkness, and broke away their chains. That verse is not a memory of the past, it is a promise for the present. You were not created to live bound. The same God who shattered chains in generations before you is shattering them now in your life. Think of Paul and Silas, locked in a Philippian jail, their hands and feet bound, their future uncertain. Yet in the midnight hour, they began to sing. Their worship rose like fire, and suddenly the earth shook. The doors flew open, and their chains fell off. The guards could not explain it. Logic could not explain it. But heaven had decided the chains must break. Your chains will not always fall with noise and spectacle. Sometimes they snap quietly, like a rope weathered to hold on. Sometimes they shatter suddenly, like glass against stone. However, they break. One truth remains: you will not stay bound. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with stones. Each day you add one more, a regret, a failure, a wound. Over time, you grow weary, your steps slower, your back bent. But then, someone lifts the weight off your shoulders, and suddenly you can breathe again, walk again, run again. That is what happens when chains break. The invisible weight is gone, and freedom feels like air rushing back into your lungs. A woman once shared her story. For years, she lived under the chain of fear, never speaking up, never pursuing what burned in her heart. One day, She realized fear was not her identity, it was her prison. She prayed. She declared truth. She stepped out, trembling but willing, and with each step, the chain loosened, until one day she looked back and saw it lying broken behind her. Her freedom became her testimony. Chosen one, chains do not define you. They may have marked seasons of your life, but they cannot dictate your future. The God who formed you never designed you to live caged. Every fear, every lie, every cycle that has held you is weaker than the power of His Spirit within you. Do not mistake the sound of rattling chains for permanence. They are temporary, and their breaking is inevitable. The more you step toward light, the less grip the darkness can hold. You will not stay locked in the prison of yesterday. The doors are opening. The weight is lifting. The chains are breaking. This is not a maybe, it is a certainty. For whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And freedom is your inheritance. There is a fire rising within you, a flame that has been tested by storms but not extinguished. That fire is not just for yourself, it is for others. You are stepping into the role of a torchbearer, one who carries light into places still bound by shadows. A torchbearer is not chosen because the journey is easy. A torchbearer is chosen because they can endure the weight of the flame. Fire is heavy, it burns. It purifies, it consumes, and yet it illuminates, it warms, it guides. This is the paradox of your calling. What tried to burn you has instead refined you into one who carries fire without fear. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 6, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made His light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ." This is the essence of being a torchbearer. You do not shine because of your own brilliance. You shine because His light burns within you. Darkness does not retreat because of your strength, but because His flame is undeniable. Think of the Olympic torch relay. The runner carries fire from one place to another, ensuring it does not go out. Crowds watch, inspired by the continuity of the flame. In the same way, your life becomes a relay of glory. You carry the flame through valleys and mountains, through winds and rains, passing light where others once sat in darkness. Or picture a lighthouse on a stormy shore. The storms are relentless, the waves fierce, but the beam of light continues, guiding ships to safety. You are that lighthouse, your flame, not only for yourself, but for those who are lost at sea, desperate for direction. A man once shared how his entire life felt meaningless until he realized the influence he carried. People watched how he responded to hardship, how he endured pain with dignity, how he spoke hope in hopeless spaces. He never preached from a pulpit, but his very life became a sermon. That is the role of a torchbearer, not always loud, not always public, but always radiant. And here is the beauty: fire spreads. A single flame passed to another candle does not lose itself, it multiplies. When you live as a torchbearer, your fire ignites others. Someone bound in despair sees your endurance and finds courage. Someone drowning in silence hears your testimony and finds their voice. Someone shrouded in darkness feels your light and steps toward hope. You may not always know who is watching. You may never meet the ones your flame touches, but heaven does. Every flicker of light you release becomes part of a greater blaze, a fire that cannot be contained. Chosen one, this is your time to rise as a torchbearer. Do not underestimate the weight of your light. You were not chosen to hide, but to shine. You were not preserved just to survive, but to ignite. Carry the flame boldly. Let your life blaze in such a way that even the darkest corners cannot resist. For the fire within you is not just for you, it is for generations. Your torch will outlive you. Long after your footsteps fade, the flame you carried will still burn in others, guiding them, inspiring them, proving that light always wins. The closer you move toward destiny, the more resistance you feel. Darkness does not waste energy on those who pose no threat. It rages hardest against the ones carrying crowns. That is why your path has been heavy, why your nights have been long, why the battles seemed unending. You are standing at the threshold of your greatest unveiling, and opposition knows it. This final resistance is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to test the strength of your resolve. Like gold placed in fire, the heat proves authenticity. You are not fragile metal. You are treasure refined. Every wave that has crashed against you was secretly shaping your endurance. The prophet Nahum declared in the first chapter, Verse 9, whatever they plot against the Lord, he will bring to an end. Trouble will not come a second time. This promise reminds you that the resistance you face is not permanent. It will not repeat endlessly, circling you like a curse. Heaven has drawn a line. The schemes against you are collapsing, and the storm that seemed endless will not rise again in the same way. Think of a ship in a storm. The winds howl, the waters rise, and everything shakes. But the anchor holds. You, too, are anchored not to shifting circumstances, but to eternal promises. Resistance may rock you, but it cannot uproot you. Or picture a mountain climber reaching the final stretch. The air is thinner, the rocks sharper, the climb more dangerous than any part before. Yet the summit is also closest. That is your place right now, the hardest climb, because you are steps away from the crown. And here is the beauty. Your crown is not for vanity, but for testimony. It is the evidence that you endured. It is the proof that God's hand sustained you. It is the light that inspires others still climbing their own mountains. Now, let me speak to you in pictures. When you choose to like, it is as though you are planting a flag on your mountain, marking, I stand, I endured, I am still here. When you share, it is like lighting a signal fire on the summit, letting others in the valley know hope is real, victory is possible. Keep climbing. And when you subscribe, you are choosing to remain connected to the stream of encouragement, like tying your rope to a lifeline that will continue to pull you upward when strength grows weak. This is not duty, it is beauty. It is not demand, it is invitation. You are free to ignore the flag, the fire, the rope, but when you choose them, you declare something profound. You are not only wearing your crown for yourself, you are helping others find theirs. And one more step. Comment these words. I choose my crown. Short, but alive with weight. It is not about typing letters, it is about releasing agreement. When you declare it, you are telling the storm, I will not be moved. You are telling your soul, my labor is not in vain. And you are telling heaven, I accept the authority. the honor, the calling marked for me. Now, the resistance is real, but so is your victory. The storm is fierce, but so is your anchor. The climb is steep, but so is your crown. Chosen one, the final resistance is the final proof. You are ready to reign. Harvest does not arrive all at once. It comes after seasons of sowing, watering, waiting, and enduring. Every tear you cried, every prayer whispered in silence, every small act of faith that seemed unnoticed, these were all seeds. Now the season of harvest is drawing near, and the field of your life is beginning to shift. It can be easy to forget the labor that went into the ground. Seeds are invisible once they are buried, and time can make you question whether they are even alive. But heaven does not forget. Not one seed you planted in faith has been wasted. Even the smallest act of obedience carries weight in eternity. The psalmist reminds us in the book of Psalms, chapter 126, verses 5 and 6. Those who sow with tears will reap with joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with sheaves. This is the divine exchange: tears for joy, mourning for dancing, emptiness for abundance. Your harvest is not simply about what you receive, it is about what those seeds become. Tears watered them, faith planted them, and now joy will reap them. Imagine a farmer walking his fields at dawn. Months ago, he pushed tiny seeds into the soil. He saw nothing for weeks, sometimes for months, but he kept tending the ground. Now, the horizon ripples with golden grain, bowing in the wind. That is what your life is beginning to look like. The hidden obedience of yesterday is turning into visible fruit today. Or picture an orchard. Each tree began as a fragile sapling, needing protection from storms. Now, branches bend under the weight of fruit. What once looked barren is overflowing. Your life, too, is bending with abundance. What felt empty will become a source of nourishment for many. A woman once shared her journey. For years, she prayed for her family, often through tears. Nothing seemed to change. She nearly gave up, convinced her seeds had vanished in the soil of time. But suddenly, in one season, hearts softened, reconciliations bloomed, and joy returned to her household. Looking back, she realized every tear had been watering the soil. Here harvest came, and it came abundantly. Chosen one, your harvest will not only bless you, it will overflow to those around you. The seeds you planted in faith will feed others who did not even know you were laboring. Your obedience is becoming someone else's testimony. Your prayers are becoming someone else's breakthrough. But harvest also carries responsibility. Fruit must be gathered before it spoils. Grain must be stored before it scatters. In the same way, the blessings coming into your life must be stewarded well. Abundance is not only a gift, it is an assignment. You are entrusted with it so that others may be nourished. Think of Jesus feeding the 5,000. A small offering of bread and fish was multiplied until baskets overflowed. What seemed insufficient became more than enough. That is harvest. God takes what little you offered in faith and multiplies it beyond what you imagined, until not only are you filled, but others are too. The harvest moment is upon you. Do not despise the waiting, for it made the fruit sweeter. Do not question the process, for it made the roots stronger. What you planted in faith, you will reap in joy. Your hands will not come back empty. They will return carrying abundance. This is the unveiling, the long-hidden surprise, the promise carried through tears and trials. The hope that seemed so distant, it is opening before you. The curtain is lifting. The season is shifting. And the reward of being God's chosen one is here. For so long you have lived between what was spoken and what was seen. You held on to words that felt like whispers in the wind. Yet now, heaven declares, the waiting was not in vain. Every step, every scar, every surrender has been building to this moment. The unveiling is not only about what you receive, it is about who you have become in the process. The Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." And glory revealed, not only around you, but in you. That is what this unveiling means. The very places where you once felt weak are becoming the places where His strength shines brightest. The valleys you walked through have carved depth in your soul. And now those depths are filled with light. Think of a masterpiece hidden beneath a cloth in an art gallery. For months, the artist has been working, shaping, painting, refining every detail. The crowd gathers. Anticipation rises. And finally, the cloth is removed. Gasps fill the room as beauty that was once concealed is revealed. That is you. Heaven has been painting your story in secret, and now the covering is being pulled back for the world to see. Or picture a diamond. For ages it lies hidden in the earth, pressed by weight, refined by pressure. To the untrained eye, it looks like an ordinary stone. But when the jeweler lifts it, cuts it, and holds it to the light, it dazzles in ways beyond imagination. Your unveiling is the diamond moment, the proof that pressure produced brilliance. A man once shared how he felt invisible for decades, his talents ignored, his prayers seemingly unanswered. Yet in time, doors opened that not only revealed his gifting, but also highlighted the endurance he had built in obscurity. His unveiling was not sudden, it was the natural result of years of hidden preparation. His story is yours too. The hidden years were not wasted. They were wombs for this unveiling. Chosen one. The unveiling is both personal and prophetic. Personally, it marks the end of hiding. You will see yourself differently, not as someone waiting, but as someone walking in promise. Prophetically, it declares to others that God's word is faithful. Your unveiling becomes a signpost to those still waiting. If He did it for you, He will do it for them. Do not fear the light of this unveiling. You are not being exposed to shame. You are being revealed for glory. The very hand that hid you is the hand that now presents you. The same God who preserved you in silence is now elevating you in visibility. The surprise is not random. It is the fulfillment of everything written under your name. It is the echo of promises spoken long ago. Now, arriving in your present, it is the unfolding of destiny, the reward of endurance. The song, After Silence. Step into it with confidence. The unveiling has come. The crown is yours. The promise is alive. The glory is revealed. This is not an ending. It is the beginning of a greater chapter, where light flows freely from your life. Walk boldly, for your unveiling is heaven's announcement that destiny has finally caught up with you, and the world will never be the same. Chosen one, We have walked this journey together through scars, through waiting, through resistance, through promise, and now you stand unveiled, crowned, radiant in the light of destiny. This is not just another word. This is your confirmation that heaven has been guiding every step. But do not let this flame stay hidden. When you like, it is as though you press your torch higher, letting its glow be seen across valleys of despair. When you share, it is like passing a spark into another's hands, setting fire to hearts that have grown cold. When you subscribe, it is as if you choose to keep the fire burning, feeding the flame with steady oil so it never dies out. And then, comment, write a word, a prayer, even just an amen. Think of it as planting a seed into the soil of eternity. Your words may become the very sprout of hope for someone else, scrolling in silence, searching for a sign. What feels small to you can ripple out like waves across an ocean, reaching shores you will never see. This story does not end with unveiling. It begins there. Your flame is alive. Your seed is planted. Your ripple is moving. And the world is waiting for the torch you carry. So let us finish with beauty. Lift the torch. Plant the seed. Release the ripple. And keep the fire burning. You are chosen. You are crowned. And your unveiling has just begun.